So another exciting event happened in 1986 when the U.S. Congress passed 99-457, which was a reauthorization of the Individuals for Education Act, in which not only did they continue services for school-age children, but they in fact extended special education, free and appropriate public education, to children as young as 3, so that across the country, and this included over 27 states, everyone began providing services for preschool-age children who were eligible due to developmental delays or disabilities. And it also established a new program for infants and toddlers and their families who were identified during the first 3 years of life as having a disability or a significant developmental delay. It's a very exciting time. We knew from the new brain research how critical those early years were and how important it was to intervene early and not wait until kindergarten. I was on my way to the U of I around that time and stopped at the U.S. Department of Education, where I spent a year helping with the implementation and policy issues surrounding the development of regulations and statutes and recommendations for how best to implement these new programs. I came to the U of I very energized, very excited about the national change that was happening, the critical need to prepare more teachers because we didn't have very many early childhood special education teachers. In fact, we really didn't even have a strong certification program or set of professional standards for what early childhood special ed teachers should be or should know. And we also wanted to look at how we could include early childhood education within early childhood special education, knowing that most families would want their young children to be served in the same programs that their other siblings or other children were served in. So we began very much working on inclusion. We also began working on the development of a program for serving infants and toddlers and their families in the home, which was called Early Intervention. Illinois was one of the leading universities in taking hold of this charge, in large part because we had Jeanette McCullum, Merle Carnes, and other pioneers in the field of early childhood special education, and we had a critical mass. When I came and Mickey Ostrowski came, and we had several new PhDs who completed their programs who elected to stay and work with us, Mary Elaine Hughes and Tweety Yates. We were involved in regional trainings, which brought together 6 to 8 states and helped to develop and form what early intervention standards should be, what the program should look like, what the classes should be, and the same was true with early childhood special education. And we began researching how could we effectively support the inclusion of children with disabilities in community child care centers in which early childhood special educators or related professionals like speech therapists, occupational therapists, could come in and provide services so that a child could stay in one program for the 8 or 9 hours of child care that many children needed. It was an exciting time because not many people were doing it. Not many community child care programs were prepared to expand their services to include children with disabilities. And it was a time in which many people were willing to try things, to go to bat and see what could be done. We were able to acquire quite a bit of federal dollars, and over the course of the next 20 years did really a remarkable amount of research demonstrating ways in which we could coach teachers and support teachers in expanding their programs to include children with special needs as part of members of the community where these children had both access, support, and fully participated. In fact, much of the work that we did here helped lead to a set of recommended practices that our national organization now uses, and the national definition of inclusion, which was developed by the Division for Early Childhood, an organization that I had the privilege to serve as president of, and the National Association for the Education of Young Children. With the development of these programs, at the same time, we worked with the development and expansion of early intervention. And much of the early intervention program development moved to the delivery of services for children in their homes within the context of the family, recognizing that the family is the first teacher and that the family is most responsible. A disappointment of this program is that funding has not increased to the level we'd like to see, and so most families receive perhaps an hour or 2 hours a week of services, when in fact many of those children need quite a few more services. Nonetheless, it's been an exciting time in our field. Our department's been involved in very much leading the way in professional development, in developing recommended practices, particularly around intervention strategies and professional development and the transition between programs for young children. We've been strong advocates. We've engaged in policy making, and we are at this point, at least in my career, working with states to develop statewide tracking systems for evaluating the inclusion of children across preschool for all or pre-kindergarten programs, as well as Head Start programs, and the provision of services to all vulnerable children, those who are at risk for reasons other than disabilities. It's been a very exciting time to be in the field, and I think it will continue to be exciting as we look at the next 10 years. Thank you.